What?
Go ahead.
No, I texted. Huh? Yeah. Did you get that?
Right.
This is the bishop.
Yeah, we're all about Isidore of Seville.
Yes,
Like that
Seville.
Looney Tunes episode, The Barber of Seville. You are next. Oh, so next. And Bugs Bunny is like on Elmer Fudd's head, like massaging his head while he sings. It's fantastic.
And so, welcome to another Truth Bombs episode about Saint Isidore of Seville, a wonderful saint whose feast day is Saturday, this Saturday, April 4th. I was just telling Tyler and Scott, I have not yet explained why we have certain dates for certain feast days for the saint. And a saint's feast day is typically the day that they died. So in theory, the day that they went to heaven, right? Scott, this one, oh, Scott, introduce yourself. Tell the audience who you are.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a seminarian for the Archdiocese in Third Theology. I'm almost to be ordained, God willing. Hanging out here at St. John Newman, trying to ride out the plague.
And Tyler, who are you?
I'm Tyler. I am the youth and young adult minister at St. Michael's Church in Sharonville. And I'm in my niece's room right now, the little baby room that we have set up for her. So this is my office while she's not here. There's a big baby thing behind me. You can't see it. There we go.
Oh yeah, there is a big baby bed back there.
That's little Indy's bed.
Yeah, because that's the first grandchild, right? First grandchild in the family.
That's the first one. Yep.
Yeah. The first grandchild gets their own room, and after that, it's all downhill. So we'll see what happens.
It's true. Right? It pays to be the first.
Now, J. Tyler Marsh
was already the favorite.
J. Tyler Marsh and Scott actually went to seminary together for a short time. So actually, for a long time.
Not a short time. It was a long time.
It was a very long time.
7 years?
And we were roommates in college.
It's been 84 years now. No, we were in seminary together for 3 years that we actually were at the same seminary together, but we were
4 years total, I think, right?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 4 or 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
Something like that.
I don't know. Too much. Not enough.
Too much. But you are good buddies,
we
so
were
that's good to know.
Roommates in college.
So, Scott, St. Isidore of Seville, Seville being in Spain, was actually declared a doctor of the church. Do you want to tell us how you become a doctor of the Catholic Church?
Absolutely. So you are incredibly smart. No, to be declared a doctor of the church, typically it reflects the nature of the writings of the saint, that they contribute in some way to the development of the understanding of the faith, and it applies, as they say, to all ages of the church. So to the church at any time, that this person's writings and teachings can apply to the faithful and be useful for the faithful in understanding our faith in whatever age that we are in. A lot of times they say that, the writings of these great saints are inspired by the Holy Spirit. I think with St. Isidore, with St. Thomas, and so many others that we refer to, you could definitely say that in just looking at their writings and how beautiful it is and how they reflect on the mysteries of God. That's kind of the big thing. They're obviously extremely orthodox and true to the teachings of the church, and help us to understand the mysteries of the Lord, the mystery of the church, and really the core of our faith as we strive to someday be saints ourselves. So the church really holds them up and really as a shining example to all of us, really.
That was a beautiful way to put it, Scott. Thank you. So, Scott, I know you read up a little bit
You're
on
welcome.
Thank you. I know you read up a little bit on Saint Isidore before we started. So, what was one of your favorite pieces of his story that you found out?
I think especially in just looking at his life and my own journey through seminary, his perseverance was just insane. The hardships that he faced with his brother and his great desire to learn and to persevere, and how that perseverance was kind of fed through this interaction he had. He actually ran away from home and was sitting down by a rock. And the story says that when he finally allowed his surroundings to kind of weigh in on him, that he became aware of them, he noticed this drop of water falling down on this rock that he was next to. And it occurred to him that, while the drop of water doesn't have it doesn't seem significant in the immediate moment, that the drop of water over time has a huge impact, as he saw the dip in the rock where the water had hit it over time. And that was a big inspiration for him, that in his own small efforts, in his own learning and striving to do better, that over time, his small efforts would mount up to be a very big thing. And so he went back and kept trying. And for myself, I think that kind of hit home for me. Sometimes it's hard to, I guess, stay focused on the prize, but we're going to take it one day at a time and one little effort at a time. So, yeah.
Pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, Mr. Tyler Marsh, did you find anything in his story that you went, that's pretty cool?
Yeah, there was a couple of things. So in his just being born to a rich or well-off family, I thought was really interesting, because it seems like we have a ton of saints that come from kind of poor or different backgrounds. And so it's interesting to see that, but also definitely not without his struggles, definitely not without his own trials and tribulations. And another thing that's really interesting was Scott mentioned his brother. Two of his siblings are actually saints as well. So and his brother followed him as bishop in Seville. So I thought that's really interesting too, because I just think about my own family and imagine like my little brother as a bishop or somewhere. Is terrifying to think about.
Yeah, knowing your brother, that's pretty epic.
And
yeah, that'll keep you up at night. But just the family dynamic and the beginnings coming from a little bit more wealth and prosperity, but how it didn't jade him in a way that was negative. It didn't make him uppity, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't just two. It's actually, the list I have here was 3 siblings. So it says,
two and a sister.
Which is just amazing.
Yeah.
And their names are all epic. So Tyler, when you all start having babies,
please tell us their name.
This is what write them down now. Okay.
Leander.
So
there we go.
Are you ready? Leander, I think that's Leander Marsh. Fulgentius, oh, that's a good one. And then
that's an early contender.
Yes, and Florentina's beautiful. Florentina, you'd call her Flo. Be so cute, little Flo Marsh running around.
Yeah, I think. I think if I ever get like a really big dog, I'm going to name him, Fulgentius after the saint. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what was really cool about that too? Not only are they all 3 saints, but the 2 brothers were bishops. So we had 3 bishops.
3 bishops.
And his sister was the head of a convent. So like some really dynamic leaders. in the whole family,
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to think about their parents. What was getting raised
Yeah.
in that home like with, having 3 kids that are saints. That's
Yeah.
crazy. 2 of them are bishops. It's very interesting. Sometimes we don't hear about the parents of the saints, but I know that, I know Becky could probably speak to the fact that, it's not easy raising kids. And so it's interesting to see. Could you imagine 3 of your kids being saints?
Well, that would
Hopefully
be
one day,
all of
definitely all
them.
of them will be.
That would be all of them. So,
Yeah.
but
Right.
Tyler, what's really
Right.
interesting, I think, is we're starting to pay more attention to the parents. I know that they canonized Teresa's parents, right? And I think they've opened up an investigation into John
did.
Paul II's parents. And I think it's cool that here we are in this modern
I
age.
agree with that as well.
Yeah, and they're looking into the parents because there has to be something there about those parents to have kids who just, and sometimes they did not lead extraordinary lives. I think in Teresa's case, she just did the little things to please God. And so we need to just remember that, it's not just about leadership. It can be about other things. We all have different gifts. So the thing that I love about Isidore is that
they're not.
Okay. Go ahead.
What?
Go
I
ahead,
didn't mean to
Tyler.
cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
saying, it's interesting too that your videos. It's interesting that, as like with some of them, like you said, like it's not as. I had a really good thought. Hang on, it'll come to me. But with, okay, I remember it now. Sorry. So I was thinking some of them too, like with Therese, like, just a little way following through with, it doesn't have to be big things. I think that's something I think about a lot is sometimes with saints, you see this crazy example and you're like, well, I could never do that. So I think it's interesting to see that as well. Sorry for the rambling.
No, you're perfect. Yeah, and so Isidore is considered the patron saint of the internet, and we had this discussion before we started recording, and Tyler goes, he lived a long time before the internet, which is true because he died in 636, so just a few years before computers and the internet, and there's a reason for that. And
just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple years. John Paul II, I think, is the one who declared him the patron saint of the internet because Saint Isidore, published a book called Etymologies, also known as Origins, and he tried to put in that book everything that was known at the time. So kind of the encyclopedia of the era. And so because he had created this massive... Right, he basically created the original Google. That's right, just on paper. And he wrote all sorts of things. I was reading before, he wrote a dictionary, an encyclopedia, which I mentioned, a history of the Goths, a history of the world. He put together a missal. He put together a breviary. So the man was quite prolific. And also really, really loved education. He opened up, obviously he loved education. He wrote like crazy, opened up schools. And also the other thing that we have found that's so interesting about saints in general, so many of the saints we've talked about recently kind of had this, this impression, this thought that their life was about to end. And it seems like for Isidore, that was the case. Because during the last 6 months of his life, they said he increased his charity so much that his house was always overflowing with poor people. So it's kind of like he knew the end was coming and it was squeezing all the good stuff in. Yeah. Which is just really cool.
That's what I was reading that I guess when he died, he was surrounded by basically the poor whom he had been taking care of. And that like one of his last acts was basically to give all of his possessions away to the poor, was one of the accounts that I read of his life.
So just
when I was reading too before this about the academic culture at the time, and how some of the fine arts and liberal arts at the time were kind of disintegrating or not being advanced on in the same way. So I think that just based on how much he wrote and how scholarly he was, that he was kind of combating that, but also trying to kind of bring the medieval world into a new age with just with all different, not just religious stuff, just with knowledge and just the power of knowledge and knowing something. So I thought really interesting.
Did you all see where he included the study of medicine in his seminaries? Like,
no,
seminary
really?
is hard enough now. I could not imagine studying medicine in the seminary. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And
maybe he knew he was going to be a doctor.
Maybe.
Yeah, a different kind of doctor, but yeah. And I also think it's interesting, Tyler, you were saying. I know, yeah. You were saying how he was just really kind of forethinking, ahead of his time when it came to a lot of the stuff about education and about the arts. And he even really disliked just the people in the church making decisions on their own and not listening to anyone else. So he was really into creating synods. And at the time, the government and religion were really integrated, but he brought people together to get their input, which is pretty impressive, again, for the day, to trust people with their decision-making and not just say,
well, and it shows too humility.
Yes. Yeah. Even though he obviously knew a lot.
Yeah, it shows that he's not just super smart.
Right. Okay, my nose is itching like crazy today. I think it's those stupid pear trees blooming outside my window. Ooh, they stink too. Okay, you ready for a little truth bombs with Saint Isidore? Okay, you ready? You ready, Scott? You first.
I'm
ready.
If Saint Isidore hosted a TV talk show, what would it be called?
Family Feud. More of a game show than a talk show.
That's good.
Explain why Family Feud, because we didn't really talk about that.
Yeah. So, we talked about his brother, Saint Leander. What a great name. Leander took it on himself to kind of take a big part in Isidore's education. Isidore was already accounted to be a smart young man, but Leander thought that corporal punishment would make him smarter. So he would inflict great punishment on his younger brother throughout his education, and he ran away from home. Isidore did, and that's when he had the experience with the water and the rock. So he returned home, and he thought, maybe my brother will have had a change of heart. But instead, his brother locked him in a monastic cell for the rest of his time in school.
Not really a change of heart.
These things. No, not really.
Not really. But what's interesting about that, Scott, is one of the summaries that I read said, in today's world, we have a lot of tendency to say, well, because of my past, I just can't do certain things, or because of my past, this is why I hate this part of the world. He really did not do that. If he had any effect on his brother, abusing him in that way, in fact, you would have thought he would have hated school, and he ended up separating the abuse from the learning. And obviously, Leander grew out of that because they became closer later in life. But yeah, it's very
which I thought was a beautiful testament of the grace of the Lord working both of them, that towards the end of their life, their adult life, they had a very close relationship. Isidore succeeding his brother as Bishop of Seville and completing some of the writings that his brother had started. They really ended up having a very close relationship with one another.
Proof that people can change. There we go. People can change.
It's
okay,
true.
Tyler, you ready? You don't look ready.
Ready.
If Saint Isidore could time travel, where would he choose to go? or when, I guess, would he choose to go?
That's a good one. Time travel. Okay, so I think he would want to go to the future so that he could see and learn more and teach more and figure out and see what was new and different about the times. And, so I think he's someone that strikes me as a learner and is interested in learning and teaching. So I can see him going to the future and seeing what's what.
Yeah. I could see him going backwards too, though, is like his great love for teaching the faith, like to go back and sit and talk with Jesus and the 12.
Oh,
to be
that
able
too.
to teach the faith better. Yeah. Maybe he would go backward and then go to the future.
Back to the future.
Well, I mean, if he could time travel, he could go anywhere.
Whoa, man, what a crazy movie. Anyway.
You said something about the future. Oh, I wonder, a man from the year 630s, 620s, 630s, when he lived, can you imagine what he would think of when it came to a microscope? I mean,
No.
To be very interested in just all that stuff.
Yeah. It would totally blow him away.
Probably break him.
Or running water or indoor plumbing or electricity. Any of that would just be
flushing
like crazy.
toilets.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
I totally think that he would just be willing to just get it all. Like, to just, like, even though it would probably blow his mind and overload error, I just think that he would love that.
I think you're right. I think he would soak it all in and be so intrigued by it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take a question since there's just 3 of us today. If Saint Isidore could upgrade his body with just one gadget, what would it be? If he could upgrade his body with just one gadget. I feel like Inspector Gadget. I'm too old for you.
Oh man, yeah. I got you, Becky.
You got me. Okay.
I don't know Inspector Gadget. I'm not that young.
I was thinking 2 things. Okay, I could see him be like Go-Go Gadget arms, extra arms, because then he could hold more books or hold them for a longer amount of time if his arms got tired. I could see him do that. But I could also see him want extra like eyeballs and stuff so he could see more around him just because he loved knowledge. So, yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I can get behind the arm thing though. Like still being in the seminary and having to go to the library to write book papers, and you've got like 15 billion books that you're trying to cart to your room. Some extra arms would be nice.
Yeah. Little Go-Go Gadget.
Or just longer. T-Rex arms.
I know, right? Don't you leave my T-Rex arms out of this.
Little arms. Okay, Scott.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I know. What pet name did Saint Isidore have as a child? What pet name?
What pet name?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I immediately thought about when we talked about Saint Isidore was I immediately thought of our own beloved Isaiah. And I feel like Isidore would be like him and his nickname would have had to been Izzy.
Izzy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Izzy for sure. Yeah. And he would have, if he was Bishop Izzy, he would have been busy. Sorry. Because we like to combine, because we like to combine FR for father with their first name. So Father Ed is Fred.
So he could have been Frizzy.
He would have been a Frizzy and then a busy. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frizzy. Oh my God.
So as a deacon, would he have been Dizzy?
He would have been Dizzy.
I was also thinking the back half of his name, you could call him Dory.
Oh,
like
man.
Dory.
Dory.
Mm-hmm. No, I kind of wonder sometimes when people are super smart like Isidore, was he kind of absent-minded too? Things to
Oh, probably.
things to find out in heaven. So Dory might fit him
I
very
know,
well.
right?
Yeah. Okay, Tyler. If Saint Isidore could choose a sidekick, living, deceased, or fictional, who would his sidekick be?
Hmm. Well, I definitely think it would be someone who's a saint. So I'm going to say Saint Augustine. And the reason
Oh.
why I say that is because the interesting part with Augustine is having had a major conversion in his life,
Mhm.
but still being super smart. And so I think that there's a lot that Isidore can learn from him. And there's a whole nother realm of people that Augustine could help him reach and integrate with. So I'm going to go with Saint Augustine.
Wow,
Yeah.
very well thought out there, Mr. Tyler. Okay.
That's right.
So this one's hard. I don't know if we've ever answered this for a saint. My question is, what would their imaginary friend be called? You know, when they were little, imaginary friend. Did you guys have imaginary friends?
Ooh. Probably. I don't know.
I did not have an imaginary friend, but my teddy bear had a name and he talked to me. So I don't know if that's better or worse.
Teddy bear that
That's
talked to you.
fair. I didn't have a teddy bear, but I had a big bird. You know what I'm talking about? Like Sesame Street Big Bird.
Mhm.
I had a stuffed big bird and I always carried him around by his neck. So all of his feathers were fluffy, except for the ones on his neck. They were all laid all laid down. Anyway,
Well, the
big
things
bird
we
lived a
used
hard life. But
obviously. I had a whole city of imaginary friends. I can't even tell you how many imaginary friends I had. I talked to my dolls. I would cry to my baby dolls. Oh yeah, it was a fantastic childhood growing up. Obviously, I was lonely. Um, but what would he call his imaginary friend? Huh.
All right, I have a thought.
Okay, help me
Some
out here.
assistance for you, Becky.
Okay.
All right, so follow my train of thought because it could get a little bumpy. So he liked to read books,
True.
and a phrase that we use for people that read books is bookworms because they're always in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have an imaginary friend who's a bookworm, and his name would be Bookie.
Oh, that's kind of precious. I like that. I like that a
Bookie the
lot.
bookworm.
Mm-hmm. I can also see him call some of his imaginary friends like other versions of his brothers and sisters' name. Like instead of Leander, Sleander. Or Fulgentius could be um Molgentius or something, you know, like just, yeah, I could see him do that. Okay. Okay, Scott. One more round here.
yeah.
Ready?
Okay.
This is it. He's the patron saint of the internet. So if he lived during this time, what would be his password?
Ooh. His password?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Uh, uh, hmm. Kind of
That's
think,
a good one.
yeah, that is a good one.
What would be his password?
I have to think because I'm sure he would be like most people and use the same password for everything too, because you can only remember like one or two things at once.
Or it could be really, really simple and easy. Since he's so smart, you would think that it'd be something crazy complex. It could be like password
so it'd be like
or something.
bookworm.
Yeah, Bookie.
Yeah, bookie. I was
Bookie.
actually looking up what that would be in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see.
That's right.
So it would be like, oh my gosh. Gusano de Libro.
Gusano de Libro.
That's a
The
password.
worm of books.
The worm
Yeah,
of books.
something like that. You know, I'm not. Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. It could be something like he really liked the thought of Aristotle. He brought Aristotle back into the fore at a time when he really wasn't. So maybe it'd be something from Aristotle, or
mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, Bookie. We're gonna go with Bookie.
You're going to go with Bookie. We always go downhill. I did say the other day, I was wondering, because we play Truth Bombs with the Saints, what is St. Peter going to say to us when we get to the gates of heaven? Oh yeah, you're going the other way, Truth Bombs with the Saints. No. But I think we're going to be okay.
I don't know. I think he would say it's only funny because it's true.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Okay, Tyler, here's a good one for you. Ready? If Saint Isidore were on a...
I'm ready.
Are you ready? If Saint Isidore was on a date from hell, how would he get out of it?
That is a great question. A date from hell. So I'm thinking, again, using his smarts as a weapon. I'm thinking he would just start like quoting something that they had no idea what it was and just keep talking until they like cried or left or just gave up on it. Or another way I could take it is he could say that he has a family emergency with his saint siblings that he had to attend to.
Hey. But wouldn't it be hilarious if he gave his date's dinner away to the poor?
I can see him doing that too. That's a good point. He just takes their dinner. Excuse me, sweetheart.
Sweetheart, here you go. We're going to give this away to the poor. No leftovers for you. But I did like the whole talking them to pieces because I think he would do that. Or he could pretend that Bookie, his imaginary bookworm, was there. That would probably do it too. Don't you think?
That's possible too.
Yes.
Maybe.
Okay. My question is, if Saint Isidore had a YouTube channel, what would it be about? Well, I kind of have two thoughts about this. I think one, you can have multiple channels. I know this now because the whole YouTube thing that I've been working on, but I think one channel would have to be how to learn to love your brother again.
Yes. Yes.
And then
I would subscribe to that one.
Yeah. And he would make lots of money. In today's world, that would be definitely a moneymaker for him. The other one would be Isidore. He would be like, Bill Nye the Science Guy, but he would be Izzy the Busy, A to Z with Izzy the Busy, and he would have a video for everything under the sun, right? Today, boys and girls, we're going to learn about apes, apples. I don't know what else begins with A. Apricots. I could see him do all of that. So
when you said boys and girls, it made me think of Elmo.
Elmo.
There is a Saint Elmo. I don't know if we'll be able
to make.
Say,
that's all I think of. You say hello, boys and girls. That's Elmo.
Oh, boys and girls. No, I cannot imitate Elmo, but do you know who I can imitate very well? This is my only imitation talent.
Go on.
Are you ready? I can do Blue from Blue's Clues. Burp, 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 burp. That's it. That's all I can do.
That's really good.
That's my only talent. There we go. Okay. And on that note, we probably should end. Thanks so much for joining us. And next time we are going to do a special for Holy Week. We don't really celebrate many saint feast days during Holy Week, do we, Scott?
No, we do not.
No, we do not. And during
Because it's Holy Week.
because it's Holy Week, we got other things to decide. And during the octave of Easter, obviously, we don't do any celebrations of the saints. So instead, next week, we are going to have a Truth Bombs with the Saints about St. Peter and St. John, the beloved disciple, and Judas as well. So it'll be the denier, the betrayer, and the beloved.
In fact, it's not the saint.
Say that again.
So fun fact, Judas is not a saint. Just putting that out there. We do
Not a saint. I did not say St. Judas. Did you notice?
It's
I
like
did
two
not
truths
say.
and a lie.
I know.
Two truths and a lie. I like that. Two saints and a not saint, right?
Two saints and a non-saint.
And a not saint. And then for the octave of Easter, we're hoping to do one on the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Ooh, I know. So many fun things coming up. And now that we're stuck in our houses, we're stuck in our houses now till May 1st. So the list of Truth Bombs with the Saints just gets longer and longer. So join us next time. And until then, have a great day. Be safe. Stay healthy. Many blessings to all of you. Bye now. You can wave. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye now.
Bye.
Tyler.
Thank you.
Okay, good. You are going to wave. Awesome.